great. And now on to our next David. David Abel is the proprietor of Passages Bookshop, where he co-curates monthly exhibitions at the gallery and offers editorial services and teaches writing through the Text Garage. His recent book of poems include Float, a collection of collage texts spanning 25 years, Tether, a chapbook of poems, and Carrier, a hypergraphic visual sequence. He is a founding member of the Spare Room Reading Series, now in its 13th year, and an inaugural research fellow of the Center for Art and Environment of the Nevada Museum of Art. He lives in Portland, Oregon. David.
This is a reading with many moving parts. Let's see. And towards the end of it, there'll be a very short break while we move a screen into place for one piece that involves a projection. And that'll be the next to last piece. This first piece is called Chutes and Ladders. Some of you maybe will remember that game. And it's dedicated to the poet and performer Jackson McClough and another poet and friend named Mark Owens. Chutes and Ladders. Word. 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 Work. Work. Jerk. 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 Germ. 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 Term. Term. Time. 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 Tame. 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 Lame. Lame. Loam. 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 Lime. Lime. Light. 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 Tight. 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 Tithe. 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 Tooth. 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 Booth. 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 Boon. 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 Rune. 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 Rain. 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 thank you for coming out. Thank you to Malvern Books for organizing the reading. Thank you, David, for that lovely reading. Oh, I need my eyes. This next piece is from a series that are all generically called eclipse or eclipses. So it's an eclipse the way a poem maybe is a sonnet, or it's just a form. Though there may be no human event, there may be no human event that may be no human event that is, be no human event that is as no human event that is as without human event that is as without defense event that is as without defense as that is as without defense as torture, is as without defense as torture, others as without defense as torture, others give without defense as torture, others give rise defense as torture, others give rise to as torture, others give rise to the torture, others give rise to the same, others give rise to the same central, give rise to the same central question, rise to the same central question, by to the same central question, by what the same central question, by what perceptual same central question, by what perceptual process central question, by what perceptual process does question, by what perceptual process does it, by what perceptual process does it come, what perceptual process does it come about, perceptual process, does it come about that process, does it come about that one, does it come about that one human, it come about that one human being, come about that one human being can about that one human being can stand, that one human being can stand beside one human being, can stand beside another 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 human being, and stand beside another human being in agonizing, beside another human being in agonizing pain, another human being in agonizing pain, and human being in agonizing pain, and not being in agonizing pain, and not know in agonizing pain, and not know it, agonizing pain, and not know it, not pain, and not know it, not know, and not know it, not know it, not know it, not know it, to know it, not know it to the it, not know it to the point, not know it to the point where, know it to the point where he, it to the point where he, himself to the point where he himself inflicts, the point where he himself inflicts it, point where he himself inflicts it, and where he himself inflicts it, and once he himself inflicts it, and once again himself inflicts it, and once again inflicts it, and once again lead to it, and once again lead to and once again lead to an answer, once again lead to an answer, centering again, lead to an answer centering on, lead to an answer centering on interactions, to an answer centering on interactions between, an answer centering on interactions between the answer, centering on interactions between the body, centering on interactions between the body and on interactions between the body and voice, interactions between the body and voice, made between the body and voice, made possible the body and voice, made possible by body and voice, made possible by a, and voice made possible by a language, voice made possible by a language of, made possible by a language of agency. The source text for that piece is the book The Body in Pain by Elaine Scarry, where she deals a lot with questions like torture from a literary perspective. I'd like to read a few short pieces from a book called Tether. There are copies of this book and a few other books available here, thanks to Malvern. This particular book is an excerpt from a larger manuscript of poems written back and forth between the Oregon coast and Portland in 1998, 1999. I had the good fortune to be at a place called Sitka Center for Art and Ecology, just up the, or just down the coast from Nehalem, where David's book was printed. So these poems are very much inflected by that environment of the the estuary where the Salmon River flows into the Pacific Ocean, and moves between that place and Portland. So the book is called Tether. The skeleton is used to mock death in Mexico, whereas death in other locales is not amusing. Death in Venice, for example, or death in the afternoon. There is no mention of death in the Book of the Future Remembered. Perhaps it is unknown there. All other chronicles, however, are filled with its notices. It is as though death resided in the very ink of our pens, so that nothing could be written without loosing it upon the world. As though by resisting that historical act, we might have resisted death as well. I wake with no memory of dreaming and wonder, is it true what they say, that we never sleep without dreaming? Wonder, too, am I dreaming now? The trees are dead still, the waves crashing make no sound. Alert for clues and portents, I'm alone here with my pen. Then, I was wrong after all to say we'd never meet again in this life. It's just that when I see you, I'll never know if we meet in dreams or the dreams of dreams. When we say it was just like breathing, we usually mean that something seemed natural and effortless. We might equally mean that it was variable and motivated. Writing the word ocean like shining a flashlight at the moon. That's it from Tether. Well, actually, one more short poem from Tether. This is called Tender. I take a walk under a sky, away from the day you knew looked inward. The height of sun is tethered there. The next piece is a short section from a serial work that's the middle work in the book Float. Float is made up of 3 longer pieces, each of which, or the first 2 of which, are made up of individual parts, most of which are a little long to read or excerpt, but this one is a self-contained shorter piece, and it's called Neg, N-E-G. The bell is in the tower. The bell is ringing. Seeing is believing. The car passing is John's. The soldier will shoot to kill. He can golf well. Aaron is sleeping. The lake has frozen over. The lady was helped across the street. Margaret will have forgotten by now. Mexicans are here. The fiesta will be tomorrow. Father took us to Mexico. They left whom in Mexico? They speak the Spanish language. They married the Indian women. Most become citizens. The Mexicans remained friends. Mexicans seem interested. The peppers taste hot. The peppers remain hot. A blue stone is valuable. That material was left by mistake. John is swimming in his pool. Herbert Hoover had reason to be concerned. Daniel bought a pumpkin. Illinois is a large state. He drank his coffee. Each house burned to the ground. Patricia sold that china vase. She wrote those song poems, my sons whispered. Its color is green. Soldiers built the bridges. How many are there? Knowledge is power. How much is there? Arithmetic was his favorite subject. Snow covered the ground. Discouragement came often. Many had no shoes. The war was finally won. The book sleeps. My window will rest today. Money was a problem. The war in Vietnam was his chief problem. Blood is dripping. Crowds bother me. I gave her a picture. She gave me one too. The semester draws to an end. Soldiers fight in the jungles. Most become citizens. They appear happy. Margaret seems intelligent. Must many work outside? Has Robert raised his hand? Is the plane diving? Are Mexicans here? Do frogs sleep in winter? The land is very different. Swimmers are graceful. Mexicans are here. We have our language problems. Some professionals are here. Sports everywhere draw many people. Sailboats are on sale. We saw sails of many sizes blowing in the breeze. We elected Timothy reporter. He urged the crowd to leave. The men required him to enroll. The mother named the boy Moses. George went to the library to plan for his trip. The same was delayed a week in order for us to learn the rules. The man swimming in the lake screamed. I signed the paper taken by the doctor. Mexicans are working where Jim works. That was the reason why we waited. And that's composed entirely of sample sentences from an English grammar about 1970 for freshman composition. So obviously some of my work is appropriative and uses found texts and reading through other texts. But a lot of it is not as well. So I'll read a few short poems that aren't. Well, actually one of them is. But this is a poem called Milonga for Chris, and Milonga is a musical form very closely related to tango. Milonga for Chris. How did it begin, this gray funk, this minus tide? Was it a headline in the Times, a badly written book, a thoughtless lunch, the parking ticket, the rain? I carefully complete the mail-in ballot, carry it in my pocket for weeks, yet miss the election. I pay all my bills in advance, and they turn off the gas. I postpone appointments, miss deadlines, run out of gas, until all I can do is curse the future with its broken promises, abandoned resolutions, wasted time. But I jump for joy when a thin, square carton arrives from South America. La Cruz del Sur, el mate amargo. I can't help but sing along. It's hopeless. This happiness will kill you. Instead of a lucky number, it's your friend and his family dead in the street while another friend's baby is laid. And this is the world. A tornado, a suicide, a tango, stupidity, a kiss, a play in a game, but the rest of the game has been forgotten. This was written for a friend, mutual friend of Kyle Schlesinger's and mine. In fact, James Urey and Kyle have a collaborative book, The Do How, which I highly recommend. James Urey and Laura Junt's wedding. It's called The Transparent Farmer. There was a potato farmer in Idaho whose flesh was transparent. Not just his skin, but all of his soft tissue as well, so that he looked like one of those skeletons who spring from the ground in Jason and the Argonauts. The townspeople never completely got over their discomfort at seeing him, so he mostly kept to himself. No one noticed that his bones were gradually becoming transparent too. One day, he came into town for seed and all that could be seen was a rusted clasp from an old and heavy book, dangling and turning in the air as he spoke, his words, his voice, soft and fine as cheesecloth. This is a poem for Richard Deming from Tim Shainer's Basement. The Mod Squad, how and why we are going metric, man, and society, laurel leaf heroes of the International Red Cross, Big Jake, life or death, or golden women, the new criminals sleep, our unknown life. Socket Tuum murders, Chinese orange mystery, and life or death, the Greek god affair. What's in the dragnet? Why so dead? Famous real life undercover agents in our history. Civil law at work, the gallows in my garden body for sale, killing kind paralegal. What's the matter? Helen hit and run, the black hearts, she'll hate anything but saintly copper frame, crime king, vita metric. So I have three more things I want to share. The first is a portion of a couple of sections of a book manuscript called Book Park, or Little Lord of Beginnings. And they are very short poems that were written in a tiny notebook about this big that I bought on a trip. And it turned into a notebook that I took when traveling for about a year. And it's divided into, I think, five or six movements of short poems, and I'll read the first two or three sections. Book Park. Unbroken blue, unbreakable blue. Birds inside the tree. A bowl above a bowl holding water. A breeze blowing up out of a pit. Trickling faucet, that's our creek. I might count steps or breaths. The rocks count pine trees. Blue bowl rings, lose bell. Polarized sky, blue as seeing. 4 flaming logs on a red bed of coals, map of interactions. We have feet, the trout flout. Community in the pit. Pale yellow, black-edged butterfly coasts between 2 open books. Stone balloon, ancients thinking. How far does water fall? Germany to Peru, to Switzerland, to Brazil, to Bolivia, to Lake Powell, or 126 feet? Safari? Where's the wind? Where's the creek? Where are the rocks? When are the rocks? How fast should one walk? Butterflies have no song. The meaning of occurrence depends on one having lived. with the compassion of a compass, condense the undoing. What smiling God dances in the turning leaf as it drifts from the high branch to the swift, cold water of the mountain stream? Not often, but always. Guardrail upgrade, sour gates. All deliveries and ghosts to 965 Sutter. Uncivil codes tell a story imperative by permission and subject to control. Call today's date tomorrow. The crucifix is a crude antenna, the soffit crowded with brackets. Shadows of what must have been a flock of birds cross the sidewalk, passing under batting practice. Citations don't bleed. Boogie ceremony. Historic Now Museum. Gas Panes Road. Nominal Highway. Give words no matter whose, more space, more time, more suspense. Every shadow was a mind. Waiting, the tribe of my father. Cat cries outside. I turn and see I've let another candle burn out. How I ever learn. Lifeguard in a cemetery. So we have a very short moment when we rearrange for the projected piece. So you can stretch, it'll probably take us